So, I bought another PC. This is a pre-built, a Ryzen pre-built. But not just any pre-built. Someone's used gaming PC. I really overpaid for this. I probably should have just gotten the Cyber Power, our PC that was on sale on eBay. But no, I thought I could win an auction for less money than the PC was worth. And instead the opposite happened. I paid more money than the PC was worth. And now I'm having to untape this from the random eBay seller I got it from. Oh God, he taped it well. Nothing could beat a screwdriver. Other than being packaged pretty funkily, I mean, this styrofoam could have been placed at the bottom and sandwiched the PC between to cushion it. But I'm not an Amazon seller. I don't know what I'm doing. Alright. So I got this PC because I wanted a B350 motherboard. But it's not, no one really looks up videos for a motherboard specifically. So I decided to get a whole desktop with this motherboard. It was an auction, and that turned out to be the bad idea. Because I bidded way too much, thinking I could flip the PC once I was done with it. Now my only hope and prayer is that this thing disappeared for the same amount of money I listed it. I mean, I bought it for. How nice, he gave us a power cord. GPU's held in by one screw. Oh, come on. Really? Is that some plastic on? And is that? My God. Case is ever so slightly broken. But this is to be expected. Kinda. This is not a brand new case. This is... Oh my God. Oh. Ooh, we got a lot of work to do. But before we even touch the innards, let's see if it powers on. Okay, not only this PC can be described as dropped as a kid, but the GPU has positive camber. I'm not even exaggerating. This is not normal. What? Whoa! PCB is bending. This is not a working condition. I think this would have sold better without the 1060. But I say screw the part where I said out of the box performance. This GPU is not gonna live another second under that condition. That was a pretty easy fix. The GTX 1060's plastic shroud just needed to be popped back in. But what's not an easy fix was the power button for this thing. I covered it up with a piece of paper because it just didn't work, so I jerry-rigged the reset switch to be the power button. I don't usually want to sell something this messed up. The fact that I bought it $226 on an auction, which is really my fault. It's got a dent. This is just really beat up. This is a beat up case. But we'll see. What we can do, I'll reinstall the GTX 1060 and see how it performs. Trying to be optimistic here when this PC doesn't want to be optimistic. Okay, probably spending way too long on this computer. I've managed to get Windows 11 installed. It turns out I just had a faulty USB. I mean, nothing wrong with Micro Center USB. Well, there is something wrong with that USB now, but nothing wrong with Micro Center USBs. It's just, they're not well. Just get a SanDisk. Now anyways, let's see the gaming performance of this rig. Ignore the SSD sticking out of it. In World of Warships, we see that the 1060 is obviously overheating and being the main bottleneck. That could be due to it being a single fan, that could be due to the thermal paste not being correctly making contact, due to the card being bent on a rifle. But I think it's mostly that it's a single fan EVGA card. Need to clear my throat for a second. In terms of performance, we're doing pretty well. Solid average is solid 1% lows, and a pretty solid CPU with a little headroom to upgrade. Of course, your upgrade options are a bit limited to 3.0 unless you don't mind a little bottlenecking. I wouldn't recommend and something like the 4060 if you're reusing a B350 motherboard. But the highest I would go with a B350 is the 1070 or the 3060. I know the 3060 is a 4.0 card, but it's got 16 lanes, unlike the 4060. In Forza Horizon 4, we see the CPU and GPU nicely being utilized both. And because Forza Horizon 5 is genuinely a well-optimized game, but very intensive when it wants to be. So, it doesn't take much to run Forza Horizon 5, but if you do have a very powerful system, Forza Horizon 5 will use a good amount of it. I should get a 5060. For a used PC, this is not that bad. I mean, but the main reason why I got a Ryzen CPU was because of upgradability. Getting a used Intel CPU would have been cheaper, like way cheaper, like $100 cheaper. But I got a Ryzen CPU and Ryzen motherboard for a reason. If I can find where I put my screwdriver. Da-da-da. The 5500 I got from Micro Center. Shit. Joe, you... Most of the box is the RAS Stealth Cooler and The second of the box is the CPU itself, and the CPU, and a sticker this PC does not deserve. Ah, 5500 and the cold IHS. Need to get some isopropyl alcohol wipes first. If AM5 is going to go the same route as AM4, then you're going to have a long upgrade path with a simple B650 motherboard, and not even 860 motherboards already exist. 760. Whatever. I'm just gonna look it up and edit it in. But anyways, Ryzen's have been very backwards compatible, but I mean the B550 doesn't support first gen Ryzen's, but the in between was the B450, a good budget motherboard that supported newer Ryzen's out of the box and older Ryzen's out of the box. But that all depends on if you do your research looking up motherboards and stuff. This wrap cooler actually has a copper base plate, which is not going to improve much. It's just nice to have. And I should probably dust it. Should probably clean that up. And removing the here it is, the 1600. Should get this in a clamshell. All safe. And here's the 5500. The luxuries of living near a micro center. I can't see a thing. Always make sure your computer is not powered on at all. Alright. Not showing any of you that thermal paste pattern because I know what happens when you show such things on YouTube. But basically it's a P. Something's hurt. In World of Warships again, the 1060 is obviously the problem here, even with the upgraded 5500. But at least this time, we're actually having a Windows 11 supported CPU. Obviously, the 1600 it was still fine. You could probably go up to a 2060 XT with it, or maybe 2070 if you're feeling lucky.
But I was not smart enough to buy a new card and bought this instead. So here we are. A 5500 and the 1060 super bottlenecked and by my poor choice of decisions. But compared to the 1600, the 5500 has majorly increased the 1% low numbers. Originally, that was what I was going to say with the 3rd gen i5 and the 12th gen i3 with the swapped cards and all. But apparently, graphics cards play a big role in 1% lows, just as much as your CPU. In Forza Horizon 5, we see a 10 FPS difference in the 1% lows, and I think a better average. I'll just look that up. But the main issue is the graphics card. The GTX 1060, don't get me wrong, is a very good card, but in terms of hardware-wise, I'd recommend you use an age-appropriate CPU. Even the lowest, newest i3 is barely going to have a fraction of its power utilized. That doesn't mean you should get the weakest CPU for it, like a Celeron or Pentium. My biggest mistake was cheaping out and getting a Celeron instead of Pentium. But anyways, something around a 6th generation i5 or 4th generation i7 would work perfectly fine with the GTX 1060.
Final thoughts. Well, several issues came with this PC. Like a bend here, another bend, the power button not working, so I just covered up with paper. But overall, pretty good. And for $220, this was an auction, so I can't really complain. But for $200, this system did not come with any any boot drives. That's okay. If you're just willing to put in the slightest amount of effort, you can just install one yourself. But anyways, the reason why I got an AMD based one instead of just an Intel one, because those are like super better and cheaper for around the same amount of performance, is because I wanted to upgrade to a 5000 series to demonstrate that what you can do with something like a B350 or an A320 would have been a better example, but B350 is pretty okay. The main bottleneck is the 1060, which is a EVGA card, which is really nice, but as you can probably tell from the first reaction I saw, it was bent. Which could be the seller's fault, could be the delivery guy's fault. I don't really know, but shit. But anyways, I got a 1060 now. If I can get it out. There we go. It's the single fan one, so it's got really horrendous temperatures. But it keeps the card cool while playing games. Although I would not recommend overclocking it in any way or form. I might insert an RX 6600 to flip it, but that would be a later time. I got nothing more to say, so like or dislike, leave a comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Well, shit.